Preservation Massachusetts is the statewide nonprofit that actively promotes the preservation of historic buildings and landscapes as a positive force for economic development, tourism, and the retention of community character. In 2010, we celebrated 25 years of preservation advocacy and education, and also celebrating existence. Much has changed since the organization was founded in 1985. We've had many difficult years, many different projects, and many different program focuses. In 2010, we felt we've maintained the stability we have been feeling for the past several years, and are proud to have had one of our strongest years ever, a feat in these difficult economic times. Though we have never had a silver spoon in our mouths, we operate lean and mean, but we are still able to provide excellent program, services, and partnerships to our members and all preservationists in Massachusetts. As Preservation Massachusetts reminisced over our own preservation story, we celebrated our 25th anniversary year by honoring over 50 individuals who have made a difference in the landscape of historic preservation in Massachusetts since the mid-20th century. Named in honor of Senator Paul Tsongas, our Profiles in Preservation Awards honored the often unsung heroes of preservation, who continually work to preserve their communities, enhance their neighborhoods, retain their heritage, and improve the quality of life across the Commonwealth. From the founders of some of our state's strongest nonprofits and local preservation advocates, to proactive legislators and developers rehabilitating historic structures, the varied and impactful contributions of the honorees have made preservation in Massachusetts what it is today. Our Profiles in Preservation Awards dinner on May 5th was a tremendous evening, full of accomplishment, celebration, and remembrance. Over 400 people gathered at the Copley Plaza in honor of their achievements, and hopefully left with a little bit of inspiration to create their own profile in preservation, and to never stop believing. This year's awards dinner will honor Massachusetts educational institutions that have embraced and utilized historic preservation. This year, we continued our role as legislative leader for preservation initiatives at both the state and federal level. In March, we traveled to Washington, D.C. to meet with our congressional delegation, sharing stories of preservation success and impact within their distance, and deepening our relationships with them, and broadening their understanding and appreciation for what preservation can do for their communities. Back home, we focused on ensuring that the Massachusetts Historic Rehabilitation Tax Credit Program remained in place despite difficult economic times. Central to this was filing legislation to extend the original program sunset date from December 2011, allowing more projects to benefit from this important program. Our efforts paid off, and with the help of Preservation Massachusetts Legislative Committee and legislative consultant Paul Pizzella, we urged our members and others to contact their state legislators for support of the tax credit extension, which was included in an outside section of the governor's fiscal year 11 budget. The budget was passed and the program extended until December 2017, making $350 million in tax credits available to projects all across the state. After almost 3 years in the field, the Massachusetts Circuit Rider program continues to be strong. In partnership with the National Trust for Historic Preservation, the program was designed to deliver preservation support and resources at the grassroots level. This year saw some changes to the program, as the territories shifted slightly after our Metro Boston Circuit Rider left to pursue a professorship at New York University. Yet no issues were left hanging, as Western Mass Circuit Rider Michelle Barker and Eastern Mass Circuit Rider Dor Fox aptly adjusted to take on new territory and new challenges. Here are just a few of their stories. In Belchertown, Michelle Barker worked at Lawrence Memorial Hall, a neo-Gothic revival Art Deco building constructed in 1923. The Select Board wanted to use Community Preservation Act funds to replace historic wooden windows with vinyl. The CPA Committee and Historic Commission were uncomfortable with the request and invited Michelle to visit. She presented them with information from the National Trust and Green America about the benefits of restoring original windows versus replacing them. She persuaded the CPA committee and DPW to meet with a window restorer, and a request to replace the windows was refused by the CPA committee this summer, and the town voted to use CPA funds to restore the windows rather than replace them. The Charlemont Inn, constructed circa 1775 to 1800, started out as a stagecoach stop and has been an inn and a major social center for the community since its construction. The owners were on the verge of foreclosure as the inn needed substantial rehabilitation work, and the owners were interested in strategies to reorganize. Michelle discussed a variety of options with the owners, including funding resources and entrepreneurial ideas such as community-supported enterprise. She even connected them with the Preservation Trust of Vermont to explore whether or not a community-supported enterprise or co-op model may work for this site. The owners have worked with supporters in the town, and they have formed the Charlemont Preservation Society and are now working to transfer the inn to a recently established nonprofit. Built circa 1872 and believed to be the last surviving rural cigar factory in Hampden County, the Gillette Cigar Factory in Southwick was another of Michelle's projects. The Southwick Historical Society was able to get a developer to donate the building to be relocated to a site owned by the Historical Society. Michelle advised them as they prepared a presentation requesting CPA funds to help move the building. Even though funds were granted, a faction on the CPA committee tried to undermine the project by putting up procedural obstacles. Michelle provided ongoing advice and found that the Historical Society progressed from asking for help to working more and more independently. The barn is now dismantled, and foundation work has begun on the new site, which will be reassembled this spring. In the eastern half of Massachusetts, circuit rider Dorr Fox has been involved with the Plymouth County Courthouse. Constructed in 1820, this handsome building is a prominent structure on Court Street, the main street of downtown Plymouth. It was recently abandoned when a new courthouse was built on the outskirts of town, and town officials have been advocating for reuse of the building. Dorr assisted them by writing a letter of support advocating for the use of Community Preservation Act funds for the project, and also writings in support of a federal grant application. 2010 was the year of churches, as Dorr visited numerous, including First Parish in Bridgewater, First Parish in Truro, and St. Stephen's in Lynn. Many of these churches face the same issues: the lack of funding to maintain their buildings, so discussions of funding resources, upcoming workshops, and other options, such as aligning with Partners for Sacred Places, were central to these visits. Out on Martha's Vineyard in Chilmark, Dorr worked with the Sheriff's Meadow Foundation and helped convince them to retain a first-period house on land that they owned. Even though the preservation of the house did not meet their mission, Dorr convinced them that it was important to the landscape, and this year they applied for and received a grant from Preservation Massachusetts to complete a conditions assessment and preservation plan for the building and the entire site.
Just a small town girl.
Also in 2010, Dorr worked in Chatham with the Friends of the Mitchell River Bridge and their efforts to preserve and save this historic wooden drawbridge. Central to this effort was writing letters of support, attending town meetings, and also supporting the Friends in their efforts to appeal to the Keeper of the National Register to find the bridge National Register eligible. Preservation Massachusetts is now a consulting party in the Section 106 process with Mass Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration as to the future of this bridge. The Circuit Rider program has allowed Preservation Massachusetts to call ourselves a true statewide organization, with our own capacity to assist anyone in the state who is concerned with the historic preservation and our shared heritage. Our work for 2011 is to ensure that this program remains in place and the Circuit Riders are available when you need them most. Preservation Massachusetts' other programs continued on in success this year. Our Massachusetts Most Endangered program brought attention to the plight of properties from Boston to Haverhill to Springfield. This year we enjoyed the most media coverage yet, including multiple articles in local papers, the Boston Globe, radio, and cable coverage. The benefits are already being reaped. In Dudley, circuit rider Michelle Barker has been aiding the advocates in the finding of a house mover to save the Reverend Williams house. At our fall event this year, we honored local volunteer groups that have been instrumental in advancing and promoting preservation within their community with our Community Spirit Awards. The Friends of the Historic Ames Shovel Works in Northeaston, the Rocks Village Memorial Association in Haverhill, and the New Salem Historical Commission in New Salem were the honorees. As always, Preservation Massachusetts takes our mission as an advocacy and education organization seriously. This year, we have better utilized web-based and social media to connect with our members and others interested in preservation issues and happenings in Massachusetts. Our website, which was launched at our annual meeting last year, has met with great feedback and has allowed Preservation Massachusetts to more easily distribute information, resources, updates, and to connect with a wider audience. 2011 holds much opportunity for Preservation Massachusetts, and we embrace the new year and new challenges ahead. Making sure that our lights stay on and our program is in place is priority number one, and we wholeheartedly thank all of our corporate and individual members for your support. It is because of you that we are able to engage in our mission. We hope that you will all continue to be a part of Preservation Massachusetts this year, as a member, as a partner in our greater preservation community, and sharing in the continual efforts to preserve our collective heritage for future generations. Thank you very much.